Mm. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Breakdown, episode 118. We are your co-hosts, Tanya Lee and Johanna Burkhart.
Hey.
So tonight we wanted to go and break down a couple different topics, but in general, we wanted to start off with one thing because this is what was coming in my head. And you said this to Johanna. I wanted to start off with this. If anyone has seen The Breakfast Club, John Hughes movie, where you have all the different stereotypes and you put them in one room and kind of they're in detention. They have to kind of figure things out and they realize they're not that different. That's what I kind of feel like this episode's about, because they kind of learn to respect each other, to understand each other and realize their differences. And we really wanted to take the time to do that and have this safe space, because anyone who's tuning in or is on live chat, go ahead, say hello when you can. But we don't care what you believe in. We don't care if you're a light worker. We don't care if you're an atheist. We don't care if you're a Christian, a Jewish, if you believe in the flying spaghetti monster. This is a safe space.
I want to believe in this flying spaghetti monster.
So we wanted to talk about some things that we are seeing and hearing and reading because, with social media, it's such an open area of discussion where people are kind of free ranging to just say whatever their beliefs are. But one of the big things with this is the respect thing. And I've seen so little of it lately, especially not just religion or spirituality. I mean, it's just being nice to people or giving that, space for people. But also, I mean, it obviously happens in politics and all that kind of bullshit. But in general, we wanted to bring it down with what we're spiritual people. We're light workers. So we have a perspective. Johanna and I have very different perspectives to some extent, but we also agree on things. But when we don't agree, we still are nice to each other and go, well, I don't believe in that, but this is my belief.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen a lot of that?
A ridiculous amount. And it breaks my heart because, I'm a firm believer, and I didn't always believe this. You guys, if you follow me, I transcend myself all the time, and that's okay. What I say today, I believe today, it may change tomorrow. But that's because we continuously open our awareness. And when we do, we allow ourselves to see a bigger and better perspective. And that's why I am always saying there is no right or wrong. There's only opportunity and possibility. And right now, this may be where whatever your opinion is, if you are sitting there defending it and judging it and not being kind to another person because they're not agreeing with you, that's not spiritual. That's not spiritual at all, because it just breaks my heart to see it. We don't all have to, and we're not all meant to be the same person. We're just not. We're meant to filter the same consciousness differently through our own perspective and our own evolution. And they're you can talk because they're going to have me draw something. So,
well, I mean, put it this way. If we were all the same, what would this be? It would be pretty boring. It would be pretty, I mean, what lessons would we learn? The reason differences exist is so that we can observe it, see it, grow from it. But when you have something in a level of always being the same or agreeing, then that can kind of get redundant. Like it's like, what's the point? you know, Everyone has, especially in ascension, everybody is at a different level. And the problem is when you have somebody who is closed-minded on just their belief, right? And I'm not saying everybody's like this, but if somebody is really high, gung ho on their belief on what they believe in, and they are force feeding it down someone's throat, what happens is people who are not conscious aware of that or not educated to realize that this is just an opinion from someone can get very fearful of that. And the person who is throwing it at them is also showcasing fear, because anything of the unknown, I mean, that's what fear is anything. If you don't know what the unknown is, of course you get fearful of it. What's out there? What is this? That's where that comes from, is that fear. So I know, from just seeing on social media, I'm a part of a lot of these forums, especially when I was new to the spiritual community. um People are really looking. I mean, these people are looking for advice, and some of them don't feel comfortable yet to go out or seek help. They're looking into these groups to just kind of do research and stuff like that, but it's extremely dangerous too, because when you're in the mind frame of being in low vibration, you see nothing but fear. So,
And you attract who you are. We
for
are
sure.
in a law of attraction universe reality. You attract where you are. So if you are on a low vibration, if you are in a space of lack and fear and doubt, and you are out there seeking, that's what you're going to be attracting. And this is why we need more and more teachers and spiritual counselors and guides that come from a place of love and inquiry, where that means that you are guided back to yourself for the answer and not something outside of yourself, right? And that's where a lot of the fear comes in, like energy protection. This is the first thing that most people do when they wake up, is how do I protect my energy from beings and from all these things? Because all of a sudden one day you start feeling everything, or getting anxious, or starting to notice your sensitivity changing. And, again, if you knew me from the beginning, you knew I taught classes on energy protection. But here's what I have evolved from this. And that is the guidance that I've been given from the team that I work with is you are of the light. And your aura is meant to neutralize anything that comes in. And this is why I have shifted into teaching so much about your own body and boundaries and things like that. Because when you know yourself and your energy completely, then you will know when there is an intrusion that is not serving your energy. It doesn't mean that it's negative or positive. It's just not serving to you, to hold on to it. And so if you are of the light and you are in a good vibration, a neutral state, then your aura will naturally neutralize anything coming in that is not of that vibration. If you feel the need to protect your energy, you are already in a fear-based mentality.
That's so important and actually that was one of the first lessons, Johanna, you taught me when I was taking, I think it was just a healing course, just your wounded energy or something, when I was trying to go over some wounded, past wounds and stuff, that the work, I can't even remember, it's so long ago, the workshop I took, but that was one of the things that you had said, is that don't protect to the level of your fear-based. And because I didn't know what any of that meant. But if we can just step back for the people who are coming on here who are not, who don't know what a light worker is. I think maybe, I know that you've given a brief description on your page. I actually broke down what, the different types of healers and stuff, but can you break that down for us in a level of what that is in a simple term so people understand?
The most simplest term that I've been given when I talk about this is a light worker is someone who leads from the heart space, not the ego. So they lead from a place of love and truth. And here's the thing with this. Yes, that does mean your intuitive senses are somewhat open and aware. You are in awareness, right? but you're also leading from your heart space and from a space of truth. A lot of times people think truth is a bad thing, which
Mm,
kills me, right? I don't want to
right.
tell them the truth. If you tell someone the truth from your heart, it's a way different energy than telling someone the truth from a I'm going to prove you wrong, egotistical, I'm right type of energy. And so it's all about perspective. But a light worker is not a spiritual entrepreneur. It is not a tarot reader or a healer or any of those things. Honestly, at the very simplest, basic level, right? There's many ways that we can interpret this and go into deep. It's a person who leads from a space of love and truth. So it doesn't matter
Mm.
if you are a minister in a church, if you are a clerk at the grocery store, or if you are Tanya and I, if we're leading from a place of love and truth, then we are a light worker. That's
Yeah.
what I get.
Yeah, and I would like to add to that that no
Yeah.
matter the person who believes they are a light worker, they believe that their actions, whether they're tiny or they're huge, have potential to raise a vibration and help others.
Yes.
So you have that confidence in knowing that I can make a difference. And that to me that's the biggest light you can give to someone to just say that, say, yeah, you are a light worker.
Right.
But as you said, sometimes you won't know who those light workers are. And that could be even a person, a stranger who helps you cross the road or,
Right.
anything like that. That's light worker energy right there.
You don't have to be, I mean, the trash man can be a light worker. I'm
Mhm.
just being real with you because this is the image that they wanted me to draw. A lot of times people see this, I draw circles all the time. So it begins and ends with you, right?
Mm,
So, and we all have different on our soul's evolution, we all have different spaces that we have to be at. And we need to be at this space before we can be at this space
mhm.
and before we can be at this space. And there's going to be people at different levels all the way around. And then it continues, it goes in a circular fashion, but also embodiment. And so a light worker, I'm gonna build upon Tanya and say, yes, exactly what she said, but also a light worker, they don't just believe in what they're doing and feel like they can serve humanity. They believe it and embody it, meaning they walk their talk and they at least practice what they preach, right? They may not be an expert
Yes.
at it, but they practice what they preach and they're not out there trying to bully you or fear you into if you don't do this,
Right.
if you don't do it this way, then you're the devil or you're wrong or you're going to perish or whatever terminology you want to throw at me. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So that's my build up on that too.
Yeah, and they want to evolve and they're okay if they make mistakes.
Yes.
Right? Like we're evolving, we make mistakes. Okay, well, guess what? Wipe off the dirt, get back up.
Right.
It's okay. And you know what? There's going to be points where you might look back at your past and go, "Wow, look how much I've grown." I mean, that's part of it. A lot of light workers, they know that they're growing and that anytime that they're doing this work, whether it's, being nice to someone or actually doing it for profession, that when they're doing this, they are learning from it too.
Mm.
And it's healing them. I mean,
I
it's
can't,
kind of like a give and receive thing.
I
So,
can't tell you how many times I've given a reading or a healing or anything. We're going to get to this in a second, the responsibilities of a light worker and such, but when I do sessions, I always do a connection of and prayer beforehand that asks for me to receive and benefit from this healing or from these words of wisdom as well, because oftentimes there'll be a message in there at some point for me as well, right? I'm not just here bringing forth just for somebody else. I'm going to
right,
receive as part of that transmission, and as should I.
right, right. That's a really good point. So, what are some of the things that we have seen where it's fear driven?
God. Um, okay, so I'm gonna go down the rabbit hole on this one a little bit, only because I really want to get her as an interview, and that's Doreen Virtue.
Mm,
Um, you guys have all seen her angel card deck. She has an angel book. Should I think I have one? Um, she's intuitive or was considered intuitive, psychic, all of those things, and then she went born again, and I tell you, I found out from somebody, and I won't mention a person's name because that's just not cool, but someone who I really looked up to in the spiritual community
Mm.
and thought was somebody who was such a good thought leader. And the first that how I found out was them blasting her and saying what a horrible person she was, how she has been manipulated and brainwashed, and um, switching to Born, she's a fraud, and all of these things. And it really hurt my heart for her because, you know, it's not our place to say whether she's right or wrong and what
Yeah.
she believes. What you believe, you perceive. And before getting on this, I did a little meditation and channeling with Yeshua, who is also known as Jesus. And I got a little insight that I hadn't received before, because Tanya and I've really been wanting to interview her, because we have questions.
We have questions. That's
We have
our big thing. We have questions. I don't understand. Like, what's the thought process here? And not because we wanted to
Yes.
say she was wrong.
Right.
We just wanted to know like what the insight was. And I know she noted it on her website and so forth of why. And I'm like, that's not enough though for me. Like I
No.
need to.
We have specific questions that we want to
Yeah.
ask, but from a place of love and a place of accepting who she is, and that it's okay if that's her journey and that she wants to go on it. But what was not okay was seeing these thought leaders and these people who are supposed to be spiritual light workers and people leading the way, bashing another human being. And it was really disappointing to me. And one thing that was brought to light when I was doing this channeling before we got on live was that oftentimes, this is not always going to be the case, so please don't blow me up. This is just an insight that I received, but that I did not think of. And it kind of made a little bit of sense. But we think about it when we are light workers and we're on this spiritual path, it's ever evolving, right? So we don't have all the answers. We never will. And we're always seeking guidance. And I'm a huge teacher of, you seek it from within yourself, right? You got to always come back to you. But when you can't find in the new age world, right? I don't like that term, because the new age to me represents all of the tools that we have to use to find this guidance when we really don't need them, but we can use them. But when you can't find the answers that you are seeking and you don't know how to find them within yourself, you're going to seek solace, and you are going to find a way to believe that there is one being or a religion or a thing even that is going to be your savior, that is going to save you. And this was a guidance that I never even thought of until I received that. And if that's what she needs, and she's not out there spewing hate or whatever, then let it be. And if you don't like what she has to say, unfollow her. But for crying out loud, the fact that I was seeing these people bash her, I was heartbroken. I was like, this poor woman.
But there are people like, I mean, I'm in a couple of different forums, and I mean, I said it to you. I'm like, this is getting to the point where it's ridiculous, where, people start trolling. They start going into something and they're like, no, this is why this is bad. And, and there's this whole video on being, Christ conscious. And, some of these born agains are going on to these sites and basically putting up these videos of what it is and thinking they're doing good, when actually it's just causing chaos because people get fearful or upset. And then there's these fights that go on. And I'm like, why are you giving them attention?
Right.
Stop. You're just wasting your energy at this point.
Right. And let me tell you, I'm a Christ conscious teacher, and but this is the thing. And this is a perfect example of us filtering. Part of what Jesus or Yeshua channeled through me was that, something that I already tell everybody, that we all are an aspect of God, and that we all come from and are of the same consciousness. But we have this thing inside of us that's known as a filter, right? And we filter. Everybody is receiving. This is why there are so many people out there that can channel the same collective and have a little bit different spin on things. And that's because we are bringing it through our own filtration system. That is, if it's not clear, right, which most of them are never going to be unless you become ascended, it's filtering through your beliefs. It's filtering through the heaviness that you carry, the judgments, the fears, the lack, all of it. So
Hmm.
it's got to go through that water, if you will, is going through all of those layers and then comes out,
Yeah.
and so that's why there are so many different gods, right? There's Buddha, there's all these different ones that people consider God in a religion. Why is that? Right? Because they're all bringing forth their aspect, their version, their story of it. And that's the important thing to remember, is that we all get to have our own unique experience here as a human. And why is it anybody else's right to say we are wrong or we're right? And
Mm.
it's just, it breaks my heart. It breaks my
Yeah.
heart.
And I something that's similar with Doreen. There was a tarot reader that I followed. I actually followed her when she first started out, and she had a very bad experience with a haunting. And this is just pretty recent that this came out, but she was brave enough to go on her live channel to, because she just disappeared. No one knew what happened to her, and she was a really well-known reader who just started out. Like, she went viral, and she had an episode, and I'm not going to go into detail or so forth on this, but the point is that she had a haunting situation that happened to her, and it scared her. And she was questioning things, and someone had reached out to her before this, somebody who was a Christian, and said to her, this is, no, that's a demon and it's devil and blah, blah. And so I don't know if that fed into her. I mean, she was very scared. She was extremely scared. She was extremely vulnerable what happened, but she says, I'm done with tarot. I'm not doing that anymore. I want to do God's way. I'm a Christian. This is what I believe in. Please respect this. This is how this channel is going to switch. And, being that she did this live and I was watching it, I was watching the reactions of people, and it was, you had you had a couple of people who are really, approving, like, it's okay, it's all right. And that was so good to see.
Yeah.
And then there was others who weren't. And I was just like, get the hell off the channel.
That's your
That
moment. That's your moment to hit exit and say, you know what?
get the hell
More
off the
power
channel.
to you, more love to you, but I'm going to go somewhere else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I want to talk about this because this is a good example of, a lot of what's happening. We are becoming more sensitive. The energies are beginning to merge. That oneness aspect is beginning to take hold and shift. So we're really beginning to be more sensitive and open to things. And what's happening is when we get those, you guys all know what I believe. I don't believe in demons, or I believe that the dark is the lower aspects of ourselves, right? But there are beings out there that don't have the best of intentions. They have their own agendas, and that we know of. We don't even know all the ways. But if that was her choice and she had a fearful experience, but she was in that energy and she's speaking from that energy on her channel, that's what she's also attracting too, right? She's attracting people that are going to reach out to her and say and feed her more fear, right? Because that's what
Well,
they were doing. They
well,
were
she was
feeding her more fear.
absolutely right that when she said, I can't do this anymore, because that was, I mean, to me, I was like, she's being responsible,
Mm-hmm.
because she not just because she was fear based, but I mean, you got to understand, when you're a reader, you're being channeled, you're being in tune to these cards. And like how Johanna said, you're attracting what you're feared of, and that's going to come out. And she's right. She was right to say no. In
Yep.
that level, she wasn't going to do that anymore. So I mean, I respected her in that sense. I'll probably still follow her. It's not necessarily a channel that I'm going to be completely interested in, but I had a lot of respect for her. But what happened is, now this happened weeks ago. This morning, I was in another group, and a girl, and it got deleted already. Got deleted, Johanna, when I sent it to you. It was really early in the morning, and a woman had said, I'm really scared right now. I just watched this video, and maybe I'm on the wrong path. And, I don't want to believe this, because I feel like everything I've been doing is right and everything. And I wanted to address that, because, see, when people see this who are fear-based already, it is attracting to them. And it is kind of like a catch 22, because I felt for both of them at that time. Because I was like, man, It's probably the worst thing that girl could do was watch that, because she was just trying to get, to a point, and she's like, no, I can't believe that this is, I want to believe that I'm in the correct journey and everything. But these are things that are there for a reason, so that we can clear these layers of, doubts and fears, so that we can heal.
Mhm.
So when I see stuff posted and then taken away, I want to be like, why? Let the, it's authentic. She's allowed to be fearful of it. But with these groups, they have to be careful, because there's so many trolls out there that will go, no, 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 don't listen to this or do that. And they'll start feeding in there. And that's how vulnerable people are. That's why we're so cautious with our children when they're on the internet or what they're watching and stuff like that. And it's harder to do on the internet, it's harder to do that.
And this is why I will be a constant teacher of trusting your energy, knowing your energy, trusting your intuition, and stop seeking outside of yourself for every freaking thing.
Yes.
I still, to this day, will ask for confirmation on things from time to time when I am doubting my own energy for whatever reason. But that is very far and few between. I trust my energy. And sometimes that means that I make a mistake, and it's not because I got it wrong, but it's because I needed to make that mistake, because there was a lesson that needed to be learned. And that's the importance of, just because you trust your energy and your intuition doesn't mean that everything's going to flow perfectly. You are a human having this experience, and you need to have mistakes to evolve. You need to have things happen to help you evolve. But the judgment, I've been talking about this a lot lately when we talk about integration and really allowing our past and things that have happened, just to be simply accepted. And the information that I have received on integration is, when we integrate this part of ourselves, what we're truly releasing. We're not releasing the relationship. We're not releasing the pain. We're not releasing all of those things. We're simply releasing the judgment. We stop judging it. And that's all we're doing anymore today, is judging everything and everyone for where they are on their path, how evolved they are on their path, if they're Christian or Catholic or spiritual, or if they, who they channel. I mean, you name it. I'm like, for crying out loud, what happened to just coming from a space of love and empowerment?
Yeah. And, also, I mean, because we're talking very serious here, but there's also got to be a point where you got to be light and a little bit of sense of humor about some shit. Like, come on, like it can't all be.
We have this show.
It can't all be. I mean, the whole reason we did this show is because, like, this shit's kind of like insane, but at the same time, let's learn more about it. What's going on here?
Yeah.
And like, you got to have a sense of humor about it. Not everybody does when they're in that fear-based, right? Because they're like, no, this is, how can you be,
we have to be perfect and get it all right.
Yeah. And it's not, it's not going to happen. And I take things very lighthearted. Like we were talking about the show Good Omens, which
this story is so funny.
So, for those of you who don't know the show, it's an Amazon show, and it's it's an adaptation based on a graphic novel by Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman. And it is about a demon and an angel who friend each other, and they're basically work together to stop the Antichrist and the apocalypse. And it's a satire. It's supposed to be lighthearted, and that's what satire is. That's what satire is. So in general, what happened is, if for those who don't know the story, is there was a petition out there, and 20,000 Christians signed this petition to have it removed from Netflix. It was on Amazon.
I laughed so hard when she told me the story.
And the best part about it, which made me laugh, was that, Amazon and Netflix started joking with each other on Twitter about, okay, Amazon's like, all right, or Netflix said, okay, we will cancel Good Omens if you will cancel Stranger Things. And so, basically it went back and forth on there. They had a sense of humor about it. But here we have 20,000 individuals who probably were so gung-ho on their belief of how bad the show is, who probably didn't even take the time to look or watch the show, because someone was saying, you need to do this. This is really bad. It's, bringing awareness to, the devil and making them look good, when, the point was, it's a satire. it's a satire, like, but people are signing stuff. They don't even know what they're signing. Like,
And I just want to throw this out there because listen, if you want to believe that there's one being almighty person in the sky who's ruling everything, more power to you. But if you really want to believe that that person or energy or consciousness or however you want to label it would ever want to have anybody living in a fear-based reality, I will say you can unfriend me because let me just tell you right now, it's just not possible. God, consciousness, source, the one, whatever you want to call it, is all loving. It is all love. It is pure, infinite acceptance, no matter how good or bad you are or what you do. And I'm pretty sure that there is no being in the sky that is wanting you to walk around and judge people and tell them how right or wrong they are and what they should or should not watch and do. It just doesn't make any sense to me from my heart. Like my heart can't compute that energy. And I have no problem with people who go to church. I have gone to church, and I say this: go to church. You don't have to be of the church. You don't have to live by rules. There are no rules. It's just
right.
love. Just love each other and be responsible, for crying out loud. Be responsible with your actions and your words and what you're doing. And I really want to, I'm using this as a good segue because there are some spiritual entrepreneurs out there who are not being responsible,
No.
not in the slightest.
Right.
Because they're putting things out there when you have people who are newly awakened or are not, and they're afraid of it, right? Some people are afraid of being awake. And then they see somebody post a live video or a regular video doing weird things with no explanation, with
Light
no
language or, like,
light language, all of it, healing energy, without
mhm.
no explanation or breaking it down to help people understand what the fuck
Yeah.
they're watching.
Yeah. They're
I
basically
mean,
just tuning in and assuming that those people are, fully awakened and like, what is that? And of course, the first thing people are going to do who don't either going to be feared of it or they're going to start make fun of it because they don't want to take it serious, right?
mhm,
Because it's like, what's this? What is this shit? It's like,
right.
what is this person? They're kooky. Because I mean, how many stereotypes do you get when you're spiritual? Oh, you're a hippie. Oh, you're
You're a
kooky. Oh,
witch.
you're woo woo. Like,
Or you play with dark energies. I've heard
yes.
this one a lot. They play with dark magic. And I thought, uh, okay. I don't even know. I don't know what to say to that
Well,
because I just
one of
don't.
yeah, one of my favorite stories was this was a long time ago. I was at a bar and I was with my ex-husband, and it's still my favorite story, and he'll laugh if I'm bringing this up. But somebody had said to me, he's like, I feel so comfortable with you. I want to just let you know that I'm a Wiccan. And I went, oh. And then my ex goes, you're a werewolf? And I was like, no, that's a lichen. But it was just so funny because people don't know those terms.
Wait, what?
Nobody knows what that
A
is.
werewolf is a lichen? I never heard of that.
But like, there's different terms for stuff. So
No,
it was just funny because it was like, what?
that is hilarious. And
Yeah, because it's like,
here's my response to my own question is intention is everything, people. Intention is everything. If you
yeah,
have intention to harm, you're going to harm. If you have intention to manipulate, you're going to manipulate. If you have intention from a place of love and truth and purity, then that's what it's going
yeah,
to be. So if you have no ill intention for what you're doing, it's not dark magic. It's not devil work or anything. It's all intention based. You have to give the energy a direction and a charge behind it. Otherwise, it's just sitting there stagnant, right? Energy doesn't cease. You can't
Now,
create it and you can't get rid of it. It only changes form.
now there are a lot of people who are firm believers that, if you're uneducated, you can bring in a lot of shit that, if you're practicing these things and so forth. And
Mhm. I kind of agree.
I mean, I do agree with that. I do think that if you're not sure what you're messing with or so forth, and you are at a low vibration, you can bring in stuff that,
Right. I
you know,
teach in my spiritual development, I teach people how to, because when one of the things that I had was when the first intuitive gift that opened for me was clairsentience. And so I felt way more stuff than I wanted to feel. But I didn't know who these beings were. At that time, I wasn't seeing them or hearing them or anything, right? I'm just feeling this stuff and going, oh my God, what is happening to me? So thankfully, I left the first spiritual mentor I had who was fear-based, and I found somebody who brought me back to myself and taught me how to learn how to tune into my own energy and listen to my response system and know who you're messing with. Now, it doesn't mean I have had plenty of beings come to me that aren't of the highest intention.
Right.
And I have been able to recognize this is an energy I'm unfamiliar with. And I have a process of figuring out who they are. And if they're not anybody or they're masking their true identity, then I ask them to leave. There's universal laws for these things. And it really is about, again, trusting yourself and what you're working with. So if all of a sudden your channel, and listen, this is a true thing in my belief system anyway. If you like say your channel, your claircognizance opens up and you just start channeling all these beings that say they are who they are, and you're not in the best vibration and you don't do any type of way of matching their frequency or identity or being sure in your own energy that that's who it is, God only knows what you're bringing through, right? So again, you have to do the work on yourself so that you're only working with the light and you're only working with the good. But we can't have light without dark. There's duality for a reason. And the dark aspects are really the parts of ourselves that we're leaving behind, right? That we're releasing. It's the ego. It's all the weight that we're carrying. It's all those aspects of ourselves that we've denied and repressed and rejected. You know what I mean? So
yeah. And that's more my belief in that. And not saying I'm downing or anything that
right.
Johanna's saying, but mine's more the ego, where I believe that's the shadow work in the ego of knowing stuff. I'm not necessarily thinking it's another being or anything like that. It's not that I don't believe in it. I just don't see it in that level.
No. Well, and what I received guidance on was, and this is where this came from for me anyway, was that a very healthy person with a healthy childhood has 22 aspects of themselves. We're talking inner children and parts of themselves that they've denied or rejected. Aspect meaning not necessarily an entity or a being. I guess it could show up that way or feel that way. But more as in, we always feel, a lot of people will say, I feel broken or I don't feel whole or
yes,
parts of myself. Well, that's where it is. It's those different aspects. And some of those aspects are pretty freaking dark.
Yeah.
They just are.
Now, another aspect in this, and not to change the subject, but yeah, I'm going to change it.
Okay. Change away.
So one of the things that I noticed one of the things that I do is I connect to other people, and especially spiritual people, and getting to know them and so forth. So I meet a lot of different people and in the field to see how they work, how they do things. That's what interests me. And I connect to them in that level. What I noticed while I do, especially when I was new in this and I was going through it, is that I started to see a pattern, especially with readers, and it really turned me off. It was let me answer a question. I see something good for you. And you'd be like, all right. And then they would go, okay, well, for $10 more, we can do this. Or we really need to clean your energy for, $150.
I had that
more.
happen to me.
And, it's like they almost feed off what a fear is or something that comes in there. And again, I'm just going to say fear. I think I said fear like 20,000 times in this episode, but it really comes down to that
fear,
because they feed off that. And that to me is not being a light worker at all. And I'm not saying that you are not worth or valued as a light worker. You should get paid if you do that for a profession. You should be paid what you feel you are worth. Not saying you should do something for free, but this whole thing of feeding off the people who are at that low vibration, who don't have a lot of money, who maybe are just in a financial, shame at this point, and they only have maybe $20 that week, and they decide to do it on a reader because they can't get some other, help.
Right.
It's really discerning to see,
It's
and
irresponsible, it's unprofessional, and it's shit.
Yeah. And there's so many out there. And
I experienced one who was on an app and I reached out to her, and I think I just needed to have this experience because I really didn't have a question per se, which was really strange.
Mm.
But I reached out to her, and I think it was $20 or something like that. Somewhere around there. And I don't remember if I had I don't think I had a question. I think I just asked for general guidance. And what she messaged me back was that I had an entity attachment. I had somebody that was sucking me dry, blocking all of my financial abundance, and that I would not get anything unless she removed it, and she could remove it for $450. And I said, that's not happening, because that is not what's happening here. I think I would know that. And I
Yeah.
was pissed. I was
Yeah.
pissed because I was
I
like,
remember that.
that is not okay.
No, I know that. And that's, that to me is not a light worker. That's to me somebody feeding off someone for the wrong reasons.
That's
That's
manipulation for
that's complete.
financial gain.
Hmm. That's complete manipulation. And there's a lot of that. It's not just readers. It's people who want
Healers.
to. Yeah. I mean, it happens everywhere, or especially when somebody is constantly coming back for validation. I know that's something that, I mean, I'm still, with reading and everything, with having more clients come in. But if there's somebody who wants over validation, I would say no.
Yeah.
Too much. You need to do your homework.
Right.
You need to work on yourself. You need to work. And I always push that on people, especially, even on my channel, like, Johanna, you do it, is that you want to empower people to make these decisions on their own,
Mhm.
that they're in that level that they can, and feel confident that they've made it on their own. Whatever healing that we give or anything, we're giving them the ability that see that their own worth is. It's
Yes.
not us saying, this is how you do it, here's the book. Because, I mean, anybody can take a workshop, and if you don't do the homework, why are you paying it?
Right. Because people want, I've experienced this with many people. People want the easy way. They want the answers. They want
Yeah.
to know right now what their mission here is and what they do next to make the money. And, are they going to get the person or the job or the career? Like, they just want the answers, but they're
Yeah.
not willing to do the work. And I have fired clients, and because, they weren't doing the work, one, and they were in the victim of, this isn't working for me. And it's because you're not doing the work. That's all it is. I mean, that's what it comes down to. And so obviously you need to be on your own or find another mentor, because I am no longer going to feed into your victim mentality. And never feels good to do that. But I tell you, every time it liberates them, and they get pissed off at first, and then they find their way, and they're like, it was the best thing you ever did for me.
Yeah. The ones who I know from a fact, because I've done a lot of workshops, I've done a lot of healing on my own. Not by my own, I mean that I did the work. I mean, I had help to do it. But the ones that always I felt that I got the most out of are the ones I actually didn't feel comfortable originally going with. But I had to ask my question, why do they make me uncomfortable? And then when I was able to answer those questions and really see the, nitty gritty of why, it was because, oh, I was fearful of this or that. And I don't know if I want to do that. But that's when you get to that point of being uncomfortable and you're capable of stepping in, that is where you will see the biggest growth. And that's in anything. I mean, you can even be in this profession and feel uncomfortable. And when you
I'm
see
uncomfortable
these
all the time. What are you talking about? That's a daily occurrence for me.
and I mean, Johanna's a perfect example. I've watched this woman grow from like,
for her own britches.
but like I've seen her, and she's very authentic. She will go in the point where she'll be like, nope, scrap that. We're scrapping that. We're starting something new. We're doing this, blah, blah, blah. And she just does it. And you're like, well, what just happened? What's going on? But she's growing, and she's evolving. She's evolving. And that's what it's about. That's what this is about, is the evolving portion of it. And to see, there's a part where, yeah, you're going to be doing this and helping people in this level. But then as you grow and as you become more aware and awakened, and your skills are broader, you get a new clientele or you get new people to help, and you kind of pass that torch on to other people.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about
And
passing the torch.
I had a lot of judgment and a lot of people who were pissed at me because I would open something up and then it wasn't that it wasn't working. It just was like, it wasn't needed for me anymore. I needed to move on. Or, I opened it even though I knew I probably shouldn't have, type of thing. But I'm not afraid of people being pissed at me. I mean, I trigger people all the time. So I just got used. I'm like, whatever. I don't even care anymore. It doesn't bother me,
And you can't take it personally at this point. It's like,
Yeah,
if someone else freaking,
I'm
you're like,
so glad you said that, because that is the biggest piece. It's so funny. I spent a lot of time suffering, physically suffering through ascension. People who follow me know this very well. But once there was a being who said to me, and I don't remember who it was. They came to me and they said, suffering is by your own doing. You are creating the suffering. It's you. You're attached. You think this means something about you. You think that this, whatever you're feeling right now or whatever you're going through, defines who you are. And every time you attach a meaning to your headache or through something or to a stomach ache or to whatever it is, you're just calling more attention to that energy, allowing that energy to expand and to mean something about you. And then once you've attached to it, now it is something about you. Now it is a part of you. And now you have to do the work to undo it. And so the more and more I could surrender and say, this doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything,
Well, and we see this all the time happening. People take things so personally, especially when you get politics involved. But on social media, I don't know what happens. It just becomes this giant child playground, and people lose their shit. Like,
I'll tell you, I triggered about 10 people this week alone.
Yeah, I mean, there's a point, especially with the politics. I had to just filter it all out. And it's not that saying that I'm not, a proud American or anything like that. It was just to the point where, like, this is ridiculous. This is what we really want to spend our energy on.
Yeah, I don't watch the news anymore. I don't do any very limited stuff. But this is a good point, and this is going to be a part of the movement I'm launching. But I want to say this because it needs to be said. When we're talking about the sphere and the irresponsibility and the trolling and all of these things, you can spend your energy, your precious energy, focusing on what somebody's doing wrong or how bad something is in the world. Or you can use that energy to create a new way of being, even if that means it's only in your home. It begins and ends with you. Use your energy wisely. And if posting about how jacked up the government is or how jacked up Big Farm is or any of these things, all it does is bring attention to them. And what you focus on, you create. What you focus on expands, and you will see more of. When you shift your focus into, I'm going to create a new way of being, and I'm going to lead the way by walking my talk and creating and doing from that space, then that's a true light worker. And that's somebody who is bringing attention and focus to a creation of creation.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I had and it was, a friend who, we banter a lot when on the social media, on Twitter and so forth. But there's a point where it got so bad with the trolling, and he basically was becoming a troll. Was doing it and didn't even realize he was doing it. And then I was like, yeah, you're putting a lot of energy, like you're really doing like gung ho on this. What's the point of it? And he's like, well, it's funny. I'm really getting up this guy's, like, he just keeps going. He's just going and going at this point. And I'm like, yeah, but what are you doing? Like, you just spent 4 hours going back and forth. Was it just entertaining? What did you get out of that?
God, isn't that draining?
And that's what I said to like him. And he was like, I really didn't get that much out of it. You're right. It's like, I just, it's like, I thought it was funny. Next thing I know, it was like 3 hours later. And I was like, that's the point. I'm like, do you really want to waste your time doing that? Or do you want to do something that you absolutely adore and love?
Right.
And actually make a fucking difference? Because you really think that's making a difference, trying to change someone's mind?
God, it's such a train. Like, think about the arguments at the family reunions, right? Where they're like, it's this back and forth battling. And you're just like, oh, shoot me. I can't do this anymore.
Right. Yeah, with
But
the holidays and something always comes up
right.
and you're like, what?
When
Really
I
familiar.
first started reading online, doing card readings and stuff, and just telling my story and saying I'm awake and blah blah blah, I had this overwhelming fear of what is people going to say? Is my family going to reject me?
Yeah.
Is everybody okay? So guess what happens? When you go on in that energy, that fear-based energy, you're going to attract trolls. It's going to happen. I feel like it's a rite of passage, honestly. And and so I remember about a year ago, I started doing live readings again on my business page, and I got a troll. And there was two of them, and they were not being very nice at all. I mean, but the funny thing is I didn't even notice it. I didn't
Oh,
even notice it. Someone had to bring it to my attention.
right.
And I saw it and I said, you guys, because they were all like, stop talking, stop doing, they were like all battling
Yeah.
on my behalf. And I
Yeah.
just said, stop. I said, just stop. Just send him love. He
Yeah.
obviously needs it.
I,
And
I,
he
yeah.
was so pissed he left.
Well, I do remember when I was first started to do my Harmonia videos and I was getting these weird triggers from people.
Mhm.
But the thing is, I was getting annoyed, and not in the level that they were, telling me what was wrong or what I should do and blah, blah, blah. At one point I said to them, like, hey, do you mind, like, this is YouTube. You can go ahead and do that publicly because you're actually going to up my channel. I'm okay with that. Like, I'm a businesswoman here. So
I don't delete them on my YouTube
like
channel.
don't message it on here because that's not really coming out for me. Like, if
Yeah.
you're going to come out, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Here I am.
I left it on my YouTube too, because I'm like, hey, it'll just boost it.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, like, come on, have common sense about this. I mean, if people want to have a rampage on it, I'm like, what it is. The same thing with Good Omens. You don't think that after that post went up, everyone's like, what's that show about? Let me go on Amazon and check it out. I'm
Perfect
sure it
example.
boosted the hell.
What you focus on expands. That show just got a huge ass boost from that.
Yeah, seriously,
You know what I mean? They're
come
like, yes,
on.
petition it. Talk about it some more. That's why they always say, like, it doesn't matter. Bad press is still press. It really is,
Yeah,
because you're drawing attention to them, and people are going to forget about the sex tape, but they're going to
yeah.
remember you.
Mhm.
Their name's going to be imprinted in there. But I keep being drawn back to responsibility, and so
Mm.
I do want to talk about this a little bit more, because even as uh if you are a Christian or a born again or a Catholic or whatever, or you are a spiritual light worker or healer, whatever
Spaghetti
you want to
monster.
call it. Yeah, I'm a spaghetti monster. I really want to be a spaghetti monster. It's my goal. You have a responsibility, and that is to be what you want to see in humanity. So remember that the next time you're being an asshole, and what you're doing online. If you're going to share with the world your gifts or a sermon or whatever it is, you really need to ask yourself, if somebody random pops on here, are they going to understand what's happening? Are they going to understand it? And if not, what can I say to help them understand what's going on here? And how can I how can I do this from a place of love instead of fear? How can I do this how can I speak my truth without coming from an egotistical place? So you do have responsibilities as a light worker, as somebody who's going to try to make a difference in the world. And I really want to bring attention to that, because there's so many out there who are not doing it. And that includes, before you make a judgment or post or down somebody else in another community or another leader, you need to ask yourself, is that how you want to be treated? Do you want to be judged and bashed for your choices and decisions, whether they be right or wrong to someone else? They're yours. We have free will for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah. And, when you're authentic in that authentic place of saying what you can do to make them understand, know that whatever comes out at that point, you trust it, you let it go. And if it still happens, you can set a boundary,
Mhm.
a healthy boundary. Doesn't mean you have to act out on it. Doesn't mean you have to act out on it. Your boundary could be just simply as ignoring.
No response is a response.
No response. Silence is the death
Golden.
to some people. The death. if you give someone the silent treatment, it could be, especially for somebody who is narcissistic or somebody who's constantly egotistical and wants to go back and forth, and you give them the silent treatment, it's death to them. They don't know how to react to it. They
Right.
lose their fucking mind.
It's what I told my son with the bullying. I said, if you don't respond to them, don't let them bother you, they're going to get bored. They're going to
Yeah.
get bored because they're doing it because they're in a low vibrational place and they're trying to get a rise out of you so that they can feel better,
Yeah.
And that's, I hate to say it, but there are many beings in the spiritual communities that are doing that. And one of the very first things I experienced when, we talked about this last week with the star seeds being on an accelerated path. And one of my mentors was somebody who has spent her whole life studying and becoming the person that she is today, and not through natural development, soul evolution. She studied, she did all these things. She spent
Yeah.
25 years, doing this work. And I surpassed her in a matter of months. And she was not happy about it. She was very angry. And she was telling me all the things I was doing wrong and that I was not allowed to be a spiritual teacher or a light worker, that I had to spend the next 10 years doing the work. And I'm really, really happy that the universe stepped in for me and basically ejected her from my life, because there are teachers out there that are doing that same thing. They're telling you that you're not ready yet, or that you're not smart enough, or you haven't learned enough, or you're not tuning in enough. Where I'm over here, like pushing them off the cliff. Open your wings, fly, fly. You can do it, because for fuck's sake, you just have to jump.
And there's a point too of, I know you're using the word surpass just to say that you've reached another level in a sense, but you're not using as like, I'm in a higher level, see ya.
Well, meaning as in I on a, where
Yeah.
I had evolved and come into more awareness than I guess she was at that moment in time, and there, in that circle, right? So she was like over here and I jumped over here, and, on the illusion, on that evolutionary circle. And, she's like, and I can understand, you spent 25 years becoming who you are, and you become, a spiritual mentor, and somebody moves very fast and all of a sudden they don't need you, and you can get triggered by that. And that's what was happening. But she didn't do it the right way. And I see that a lot today still happening.
Yeah, I can see where you can go about that in a level of where someone's not supporting you and growing in the sense where it's always like, no, you have to stay in this level because this is all they know.
I need you to need me.
Yeah.
And the whole point of a spiritual teacher is to not need them, is to outgrow them.
I think that's with not even just a spiritual teacher. I think that's any even with any teacher, or even, therapists, teachers, educators. They want you to a good one doesn't want you to keep coming back to them. They want to see you move on.
They want to see you, or, you come back to them for a different, type of thing or something. But
right.
The best way is to jump in and do it and put yourself into practice. And so I'm always pushing people.
All right. Well, we're getting at the tail end of our show here.
What? I was just getting started. That's not fair.
Any last minute channeled message you want to give, Johanna, or coming in from you?
No, I mean, I didn't give the whole channeled message from Yeshua. You guys got the point, that we're all from the same type of source. But I just want to say, I really want to interview Doreen Virtue. And so if anybody wants to like tag her handle down below, I would appreciate it. But I do, only for the fact that I want her to see that we come from completely different energies right now. And because she has shifted. And that that there are still people out there in the spiritual community who would like to interview her, just to get a different perspective and to ask questions from a place of love. Like, I have genuine questions. I'm curious about some things, but I accept that this is her new journey and I'm okay with it. Like, you
Yeah,
know?
I would just like to know how she feels with other people still using her cards, her guidance and all of that, like
Well, yeah, and I have questions about that, because if
yeah,
she's still intuitive, where does she believe that came from? So, this is
yeah.
the thing. There are plenty of people out there that I
Well,
just,
this is why we're doing the show because we are curious and it's a safe place. This is the Breakfast Club. This is the place where we're in detention and we're getting to know each other to see that we're not that different. And then we can do the judge thing in the end.
we all have the same crap going on. At the end of the day, we're all moving through similar things with the
Yeah.
a
We
little
can
bit differently.
we can absolutely relate to it, and that was the whole point of us doing this show, was to get people on, to open your minds, to see what's out there, but most importantly, a safe place for people to just feel like they can be who they want to be and say something and have not it be like, okay, we're going to jam a throat our beliefs.
Right. Yeah. And you've heard me say it at least 3 times in this episode that I transcend myself all the time. So you can't be fixated on one thing. There's no possible way that we have all the answers or know all the answers. It's just not possible.
Yeah, it's true. If you guys like this episode, make sure if you're on, especially if you're watching replay, hit that like button, comment, let us know what you think of the show. We want to know. We want to know if you have respect. I actually want everyone to hashtag respect. That would
Mhm.
be a really nice thing to do.
Yeah,
Just so that we all know. Instead of replay, hashtag respect.
I love it.
That would be a big one for us. So go ahead and do that if you feel guided to do so. And we will next week already is 4th of July here in the States. So guess we're gonna be celebrating America.
We will. I'll be floating in my pool. That's what I'll be doing. So that's my celebration. We don't know if we're going to be on or not. If we do it, it probably won't be on the 4th of July. So if we
We'll
pop
be on
on,
the
make
whim.
sure this is a great reason for you to hit that little bell and get notified when we're live. Because if we just randomly decide to go live one morning, it's probably going to be really good. So we're going to want to be on there.
The best way. All right, guys, have a good night.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye bye.